guys, as promised, I got my good buddy here again, Ken Hackathorn. We're talking Colt today again, only we're talking long guns. He's got some interesting stuff. Ken, what do you got for us?
Well, Dave, you know, probably the most iconic small arms in the world today is the M4 carbine. I mean, pretty much the standard by which U.S. military issues long guns today. Probably could say the same thing in American law enforcement. It's the standard issue gun.
Correct, we had them in SWAT.
And in the private sector, the commercial market, the M4 carbine or the clones by many manufacturers are wildly popular. They've sold in numbers most people couldn't believe.
Right.
Real interesting gun. And the M4 has been updated. I tell people what we never understood about the AR-15 platform, particularly when I was a youngster, that would ever evolve into being a modular weapon system, which is what it is today.
Correct.
And here's a rifle. This is a Colt marked M4 carbine. This is a semi-automatic civilian legal clone of the gun that's issued to U.S. military, right down to the M68, the MagTac sight, what was originally the Knight forearm, everything about it. I mean, this is the gun that's somewhat standard by which we would judge a 5.56 carbine. Super cool. What people don't recognize is that really this gun was predated design-wise a long time ago. As a matter of fact, let's set this thing down. And I got to put on my new headgear. I got to kind of set the stage. Back when I was a youngster,
Going Hollywood now.
back when I was a youngster, this was the headgear that was more common for me. So this kind of sets the stage
Right.
for the granddaddy of the M4 carbine, which was the XM177, and later evolved as this one is an XM177E2. This is a clone provided by Colt Firearms, and it's as close a copy as you can get in a semi-automatic, legal to own XM177.
Cool.
Just received it. When I was a youngster, this was the holy grail of ARs. This is the gun everybody wanted.
Right.
They weren't really issued in very large numbers. Colt had envisioned early on that they needed to make what they called a submachine gun version of the AR. In reality, submachine gun's a pistol cartridge. But they came up, started working with a short barrel, collapsible stock version. And eventually they came up with a gun with a 10-inch barrel and an aluminum sliding buttstock. The stock was either closed or open, two positions. And it was called the XM177, XM meaning experimental model. And it was initially tested by the U.S. military in a 1966-67 time frame. It had problems. Among the problems it had, the 10-inch barrel with the sound moderator moved back closer. You can imagine from where the gas port is to the end of the barrel, there wasn't much back pressure to cycle the guns properly. That was initially a real problem. You can imagine probably less than an inch of back pressure.
Right.
That meant reliability suffered. The buttstock at that time was aluminum, but it had like a matte gray finish on it. It wore off very quickly. Pretty Ricky Tick, those stocks became shiny. So they realized, the Army said, hey, look, we don't want shiny buttstocks, and especially in a jungle conflict.
Right.
And the guns didn't work very well. So Colt went back and made some improvements. And one of the things, they took that aluminum buttstock and they added a vinyl acetate covering on it, which made it black and worked out much better. And they extended the barrel length on the original XM77E2 to 11.5 inches. They added another 1.5 inch barrel, which gave it enough back pressure to cycle guns. The sound moderator, lots of stories about them, but the honest answer was the muzzle blaster. You can imagine how that short barrel was pretty hideous. So one of the things that Colt said, we'll make a moderator that will reduce the muzzle signature to that of about a standard M16. In other words, it'll be about the same sounds, and it'll cut down on the muzzle fire. So the original sound moderator, the good news is it did what it was supposed to. Probably didn't do very long. Once those baffle systems in there, if you will, filled up with carbon, they ceased to function the way they should have. So and literally it could happen real quick, especially if you were firing full auto a lot. In a matter of probably 800 rounds, the benefit of the baffle ceased to exist, both in back pressure and in cutting the muzzle signature down. The BATF ruled later that because it reduced the muzzle signature by whatever the decibel level was, that it became a suppressor. control device.
under the suppressor.
But the bottom line, the gun was issued XM177E2, wildly popular with the units that had them. You can imagine, very common. Now, there were some downsides. For example, you look at U.S. Army Special Forces Mag-V SAUG guys. They tended to shoot them a lot with tracers. And think about mission-wise, if you've got a direct fire, either from support aircraft coming in to give you cover fire, or you've got indigenous people that are working with you, NUNGs, whatever mercenary force you were using. A lot of times in a jungle setting, nobody knew where the enemy fire was. Once the advisors knew that there was incoming rounds, they could dump a stream of tracers to direct fire from the buddies.
Right.
But you do that a lot on full auto, you burn barrels out pretty quick. But remember, back in that era, it's a 20-round magazine.
Right.
So guys tended to carry, particularly assault guys and alert guys, they tended to carry more than a basic load. They tended to carry a double or triple load. Often they would take canteen cases or carriers, stuff it with 20-round mags. The standard bandolier that your trooper clips came on carried 140 rounds, or you could put 7 magazines. They'd take those. Believe it or not, in that era, there was a domestic Vietnamese-made pouch for 20-round magazine. It's kind of a rubberized cotton, fits over the belt. The problem is if you wear them like this, they're hard to get the mags out.
Right.
So what everybody did was they wore them upside down. So when you popped them open, the weighted magazine fell out into your hand. So that was an attempt. But the bottom line is, the 30-round mags didn't really show up until 1970-71 time frame. So the 20-round was standard. Now, for a guy who's always lusted after these, and mind you, over the years, many people built repros. They've tried to copy this. Recently, companies like Troy made a repro. They did a very good job. Brown Metals is now selling them.
Right.
A lot of people are selling them, but this, and the thing that makes it so special is this is a Colt. Now, let's make one thing clear. It's a Colt, it's not made by Colt. And it's real simple. Colt is a real busy company. And in many ways, they cannot afford to take the time to make the components identical to the way they were made in 1967.
Right.
But by the way, there are only going to be 2,500 of these made. This isn't going to run. These guns are built by a guy named Curtis DeBorg and a company called U.S. Ordnance over in Reno, Nevada. A lot of people say, oh, well, it's not Colt. Trust me, Curtis DeBorg and his company, U.S. Ordnance, Google it up. They make the M60. He owns the right to the M60 machine gun. He now makes the M60 E4, which, believe me, is a totally mature, evolved, superb gun. He also produces M240s, M249s, Mark 19, sales all over the world. He is a top quality manufacturer. Under license, he approached Colt to build these things. Colt supplied him with all the original prints, all the details. They supplied him with the original roll stamps, some of the components, the bottom, that basically he's making a Colt. I guarantee you better than Colt could make it today.
Probably.
Trust me.
Probably.
Bottom line, he set out to make a gun that's as legal as possible.
Let me show the viewers the roll
Okay.
stamp real quick. I'll try to get a little closer on it.
You'll notice it's marked U.S. property, XM177, and notice it's roll stamped. All these other companies are basically engraving or machining the marking.
Correct.
Roll stamped with the original Colt roll stamps.
Nice.
Okay.
It's a beautiful gun.
Now here's the other thing.
There's a close-up of the other side.
Normally it has to be legal, 16-inch barrel. This is a 1 in 12 twist, chrome line bore, rubber twist, 14.5-inch barrel, but with the dummy moderator permanently attached to give you an overall length of 16 inches. So in essence, you got more velocity, still got the flash hider working for you. So you end up with a barrel that's really about 1 1/8 inch longer than the original. And that's about the only difference dimensionally. Buttstock is, a lot of the other people who have tried to replicate the buttstock have done a bad job. He spent a great deal of money having this thing duplicated as per the originals. Cool. So original old type castle nut, everything on the gun is proper. Hand guards, delta ring, pistol grip, all the components are exactly the teardrop forward assist.
Right.
Now, one of the things you'll notice, fixed carrying handle. And while I enjoy shooting fixed sighted guns.
Right.
In my age and my vision, yeah, I'm about with iron sights, and I tried it. Believe me, the gun shot great, but about 50 yards is about my limit shooting precision with iron sights. So my answer is, what can I come up with that will even the score and will fit in the carrying handle? And I discovered a cog from Trigicon, makes a 1.5, fits in, low profile. Now I can reach out, and we're going to shoot a little bit. This has got the circle dot. This is a green reticle, and by the way, notice a couple things. During the latter part of the Vietnam conflict, the Army came up with something called the jungle sling kit. It was basically a wire bail that you attached around the front sight assembly. By the way, this is a period correct nylon sling, so you could carry the thing assault style. Well, it didn't work real well, and that wire bail rattled like heck. Most of us figured out real quick, you take 550 cord, gut it, put it over the wire bail, burn the edges so it stays in place, and now you got something
quieter.
Minor details, like for example, the original 177s didn't have a bayonet lug. Couldn't put a bayonet on, the barrel wasn't long enough. And when they did it, for whatever reason, instead of that casting mark that all the M4s and ARs have on them, they polished them smooth. And the original guns have a smooth surface, which Curtis very faithfully copied.
Yeah.
So the gun is marked properly. Now, if you look at the serial number range, the serial numbers on these guns are the identical serial number range of the original XM172s, except he stamped a V at the end. So you can tell this is not original
gun.
The other thing he did, which some people have been critical of, the guns come with a hard chrome bolt carrier group. The early 177s did have that. By the time the E2s came on board, they pretty much switched over to the phosphate or parkerized one. No problem for me. I've got a few Colt ARs. I grabbed out on my new 6920s, a parkerized bolt carrier group, swapped them out, and now the gun is pretty much identical to the way it should be.
Perfect.
It came with about a 7.5 pound trigger, which is typical. Nice roll off trigger.
Yeah.
I've shot it up that it's evened out to about 7 pounds. A lot of people say, well, you can't shoot the gun well unless it's got a real light crisp trigger. That's not true. Plus, you and I both know where we live here in the wintertime, light triggers can be pretty.
Well, usually you're wearing some type of glove.
Yeah, when your hands are coated in gloves on, light triggers are not a good idea.
Right.
But way cool gun, Dave. And I gotta tell you, it's kind of the grail gun for me. And as far as I'm concerned, if you want as close as you can get to the original, they're not inexpensive.
No.
But there's only going to be 2,500.
Wow. Yeah, we when I was in SWAT, we had they called them car 15.
Car 15.
Or car 16.
Well, everything evolved from this gun.
Right, and they were very similar, which is really it's kind of different to see these original
small
handguards because everybody's got to have the Picatinny.
Everybody did that. You know. And interesting that after the XM177 program kind of went south, Colt produced the guns with that 11.5 inch barrel and a birdcage flash hunter, called them the Colt Commando. Right. Sold them all over the world. Still popular in police work for SWAT teams, for close quarters, use. A lot of patrol carbines are that configuration because getting them in and out of a car, especially in the new smaller vehicles,
right?
Those Commandos still are very popular.
See, they went from these, okay, to the all that Picatinny. Then they found that tore up your hands.
Yeah.
So now there's
cheese grater.
Yeah, and now they're starting to go back to stuff that has a Picatinny where you might need it, so you can leave the kitchen sink at home and just put the gear on it that you absolutely need.
Yeah, but this set up this way, I can say I'm at the point in life where I enjoy shooting certain guns. This was always a grail gun for me. Now, one thing you'll notice on the ACOGs, and a lot of guys will tell you that served in the Middle East in the War on Terror, that on a bright day like this, that fiber optic can be overpowering. So what a lot of people do is, get a PCGI 100-mile-an-hour tape. So I can take that off and put it over this to control the amount of light input, so that my reticle doesn't overpower. You'll probably notice right now it's pretty bright.
Yeah, but you know what? I like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other thing you'll notice I did, kind of shades of the old days, but it works. Piece of bicycle inner tube over the buttstock here. Keeps me getting my mustache planted. If I don't have that, and I'm teaching the class, at the end of the day, I look like Adolf Hitler on one side.
It's all trimmed off
my mustache hairs.
I have that same problem. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So, cool gun. Check it out. It's available from Colt Firearms. Again, made by U.S. Ordnance. Superbly done. I would argue probably better than Colt could do if they had to do it today. mainly because they got a lot of stuff on their plate. They're producing weapons at an outstanding rate. They're supplying M4s all over the world today.
Oh yeah, I'm
so
sure.
for them to go back, you could argue that the M4's got a lot of improvements over this gun. But if you're a cool guy gun and a grill gun in the AR system, for me, that's it.
Let's shoot it.
Let's put some rounds down.
All right. I'm hoping that.
Okay. All right, gang, here we go with my XM177E2. We're at about 25 yards. I'm going to pop a few caps, and then I'm going to let Dave give it a try. Here we go.
Enough sling.
Okay, and I'll make a mention of this. Hey, you can say, remember back in the day, this is the system you use, the next one.
First off, I want to apologize for the wind, but I can't do anything about it, so we're going to deal with it. That's what we do in Idaho. And like Ken said, he has this set up with this neck sling. And when I was in SWAT in the 80s, it's kind of what we had. We made a lot of stuff work better, and I think that's what manufacturers run off of, is some of the stuff we adapted to work for what we were doing. Those guys went, hey, let's just make it that way. And so that's how they evolved. But
in the most part, what you see in the M4 carbines is all those improvements have evolved and now part of the platform.
Right.
Give it a try. Try your silhouette there, Dave.
Okay, let's give her a whirl. I like that sight. So we're at 25 yards, so apparently there's a little bit of a...
Well, think about the offset.
The drop, yeah, the offset.
Carry handle in here, you've got almost a 4-inch offset.
I haven't shot a carry and handle gun in so long.
To be honest with you, Dave, when I first started using this, I forgot how much the offset.
Right. But the group is good, it's just that they're a little low because
yeah, finish it off. Yeah.
All right.
Remember, you got a 4-inch offset with that system. Because of my protector. Let's go check it out, Dave.
I used that top of that line that's under the circle.
That was probably the best guy.
Yep.
Let's go see what we got.
Okay. Well, let's look at your target, Ken.
Well, I was holding with my dot on that reticle right about here. You're going to see it's about a 4-inch offset.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, without corrective lenses, unfortunately, I had a bit of astigmatism. Instead of 1 dot, I had 4. So I kind of had to guess.
Had to pick one.
Yeah. But you can see, again, with a standard M4, I normally get about, let's say, somewhere between 2.5, 3-inch offset. With this carrying handle and the optic above that, you're more at 4, 4.5
right.
for most people. How'd your target go?
Well, I kind of had the same deal. When I did it, I put the circle in the sight right here, and of course I'm down about 3 or 4 inches, which
right.
would be about right. And then when I realized what I was doing, why, I put the top of the line that's in there, that little vertical line, I put that here, and then I put them up here. So somewhere in between there would be right on the target. Yeah. And like I say, it's been such a long time since I've used a gun that has a carry handle on, and we still have offset on our M16s that we use in police work. We have an offset, but it's not quite that much.
Yeah, it's something you got to learn. Bottom line is, I knew you'd enjoy shooting this. For both of us.
Well, you were gonna leave it here, weren't you?
No, I think, sadly, Dave, you're wrong.
Okay.
But the kicker, I knew you'd enjoy going back in time a little bit.
I did. This took me back to my SWAT days. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, I enjoyed it, brother.
Thanks much. Well, we're gonna shoot a little more. You guys go have a cup of coffee or something. I'm Dave Morelli, here with Ken Hackathorn. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.